everybody, welcome to Tax Treats. Tonight we're doing low-carb breakfast cookies. I know you're thinking, what? Cookies for breakfast? But that is indeed what it is. The macros on this, which are not in front of me, so I can't tell you them all, are approximately 380 calories, 12 regular carbs, 4 fiber, 12 grams of protein, for 6 cookies, and my daughter could live on them. So let's get down to work. First, we're going to measure some almond flour. We need 4 cups or 450 grams, which is not quite exact, but I'm trying to get with measuring to get a more concise measurement, because sometimes I end up getting 72 cookies, sometimes I end up getting 70 cookies. If you saw me measure things normally, you'd understand why. So I'm trying to weigh it and get a more even number of cookies. So this is superfine almond flour from Costco. Very tasty, very superfine, blanched. Of course, I didn't put a spoon out for this. Everything else I did. Handily, it's right here. Ta-da, spoon. So we're going to measure out 450 grams, or if you don't have a scale, you can use 4 cups. And that's not going to go very fast, so let's speed this up a little bit. I'm not going to forget how many cups I'm on doing it this way either. I talk to people when I cook, so I tend to forget what cup I'm on. Yep, a little bit too much. There we go. Alright, that's 450 grams of almond flour. The recipe is down below in one of the comments. If you want to download it, it's a PDF. So there we go. 450 grams of almond flour. I'm going to put that over here in the mixing bowl. Set that to the side. Put that over here. And now to finish prepping, I'm going to go ahead and crack 4 eggs. Some people like to do it on the side of the bowl. Some people like to do it on the counter. I like to try not to make a mess, which never works, but I like to pretend. Some people don't like cracking on the side of the bowl because it leaves the shell pushed in, but you get to cooking as long as I've been cooking. You kind of take the shortcuts and pick out the eggshells if it happens. As I throw them into my sink. I think that's louder than my voice. If it is, sorry. So, grab my kitchen rag here, wipe up the egg yolk, or white, not yolk. Really, I know the parts of a chicken. Egg. Okay, chicken or the egg, okay. So there's our 4 eggs. We'll put that over here with our liquids. And then we have one stick of melted butter, liquid, and we're going to measure out 1/4 cup of sugar-free Torani French vanilla, or vanilla, either one, whichever strikes your fancy. Or say you want to make an orangish or orange flavored, you could probably use, if there's a sugar-free orange, use that, or put some orange zest in it. So there is 1/4 cup of that. That is our liquids. And this is similar to the recipe I did Tuesday for the refrigerator, for the ice cream sandwiches, but it has chocolate chips in it, and it's not chilled because you want it to fluff up a little bit. Here is 1/2 cup of mini chocolate chips, whatever brand you prefer. These are Nestle. I like Nestle. And there is 1/2 cup here. What is that 1/2 cup for? It is for some pure organic stevia blend. Be careful you don't get the baking blend because it has maltodextrin in it. This is just ethanol and stevia. And it's going to be difficult because I didn't measure in advance. So this is always fun because I'm at home. I always make a mess. I'm not a neat, clean cook. Although it doesn't look like a hurricane after I'm done. That's when my kids cook. So there is a half a cup of that. Taking the time to seal it up so it doesn't end up all over the floor when I hit it with my elbow. A tablespoon of baking powder. I started to say baking soda and that would have been bad. Tablespoon. There's that. So almond flour, oh, cocoa powder, yes. Must get the cocoa powder, which I have pre-measured. Half a cup of unsweetened cocoa. So chocolatey, smells so good. I am a fan of my own cooking. Put that over here out of the way. So there we go. Now we have all the dry ingredients. I'm going to use a wire whisk to mix it and break up the chunks of almond flour. Because it's got oil in it, it tends to clump up. I would love to be able to make my own almond flour, but I end up making almond butter. Still quite clumpy. I usually do this in my KitchenAid, but tonight I decided to use the hand mixer. So it's not going to look as smooth before I start mixing it up, and it might be a little clumpy. But I'll probably mix it with the blender or the mixer before I start blending. Yeah, it's a little time consuming. You can also do this with a fork if you don't have a whisk. I grab whichever's handy. I just happen to really, really love this little whisk, so I use it as often as it's clean. And I'm not the only one, so there's a lot of times it's not clean. Oops, sorry. Some cooking things are loud. There's just not much can be done about it. But I'm sorry in advance. Don't mean to break anybody's eardrums. There it goes, nice and pretty well mixed. I see a few little clumps. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the chocolate chips because they're technically a dry ingredient, though some people add them at the last, but you know, I like them good and mixed in, so I like to add them before I add the liquids. All right, so now we're ready to add the liquid. I'm gonna move those over here because I will have the mixer with my right hand. Pretty simple recipe, only 8 ingredients. You can use whatever chocolate chips you like. I just use Nestle's because they're easy to come by and not too expensive. I know there's some really nice gluten-free ones. I know there's some sugar-free ones. I haven't found any of them locally, and who has the patience to wait? And in California heat, who wants melted chocolate in the mail? So, all right, so it's gonna be a little noisy, but not too bad. Turn it on low. All right. The order you put them in doesn't matter. It's whatever you're comfortable with. There you go, slip sliding away. Torani syrup. Now I can hold on to my bowl. smells like chocolate cake batter or brownies. It tastes like brownies, I think. Alright, so now I've got it pretty well incorporated. I'm going to turn it up a little bit as my bowl goes sliding away. Make sure we add everything incorporated. We don't want to have any clumps of flour or baking powder sitting in the bottom. Now, unlike Tuesday, we refrigerated it for the ice cream sandwiches to get it to not rise as much because I wanted them to not overflow the form. But tonight that is not an issue because we're going to be cooking them in little balls, so to speak. And I scrape the bowl with the spatula, then scrape the spatula with my finger, and then scrape my finger with the spatula. It's a never-ending thing. Let me mix this up a little bit more. I like to make sure I've got all the knots and lumps unlumped and unknotted. One thing, cooking with almond flour, there's not as much left on the beaters for the kids. That makes them so sad. But they'll live. They'll get to eat them when they're done. When they're nice and cooked. Alright, so let me put this over here and wash my finger off, as if I would usually lick. Alright, so move all the dirty stuff out of the way. My pan of handy dishwater. And I have my scoop. I don't necessarily do dishes while I'm cooking, but I do try to move everything to the sink. So let me scrape the bowl down a little bit. See, pretty good and thick. It's not very runny. It gets much thicker when you refrigerate it for the other cookies, for the ice cream sandwiches. But very, very thick brownie batter texture. It probably would make really good brownies. I haven't tried it in a brownie pan. One day I'll get lazy and try it, I'm sure. But today we're going to make them into little cookies. This is a Pampered Chef small scoop. It holds 1 tablespoon of batter. And I fill a cookie sheet. These are my cookie sheets that have seen some wear and tear. I have Silpats on them. They're not brand name, I don't believe, but they are still very nice quality. I use these and I have them segregated. I have some that are just for peanut butter, some that are just for cookies and things with cinnamon in them, and some for savory treats, and some for my chocolate and stuff, because they're silicone and they're not supposed to keep the flavors in, but I can still taste it, and it may well be in my head, let's face it. So I try to keep them separated so that I can't taste the cinnamon in my chocolate, because I don't like cinnamon in my chocolate. So I put 35 on a pan. You might like, oh, that's a lot. And it is. But it means I only have to do 2 pans because this makes 72. I can squeeze the extra 2 in somewhere. So you take the scooper and you want a nice level scoop. Not too level, but not too overly full, because you want to get a uniform amount out of it. And you scoop away. You can hire your kids to do this. Bribe them. Let them laugh at you and walk away. So I do 7 across the top and 5 down. And they do rise some. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is. But they don't run together, so you don't have to worry about that. You can pack quite a few on a pan, which means I only have to do 2 pans. And I'm done, unless I do a double batch and then it's 4 pans. But I grew up baking 6 batches of oatmeal cookies, and I would be in the kitchen for hours baking. So I've also looked for shortcuts, because after the first, I don't know, 4 pans, you're getting a little tired of making cookies. I think that's why our moms, when we were younger, got us to do it, because we thought it was fun. I remember thinking it was fun when I was a kid, but when you're on your 12th dozen cookie pan, you're getting a little tired of rolling and or spooning dough. See, some of these are still coming out a little smaller. I haven't quite found the exact technique to fill them to keep them perfectly uniform, but that's part of being homemade. Mom's cookies don't look like they came from the store. If they do, your mom is much better at measuring than I am. Oh, that smells so good. So chocolatey. So another thing about these cookies is they are made of almond flour, and they do stay very, very moist. So I keep mine in the refrigerator or freezer. I like the texture. The texture changes to more like a very rich, gooey brownie, but not, it doesn't like flop or, you know, ooze. It just has a very, very moist texture after they've been in the refrigerator. And it's really, really good. I love them frozen. My daughters don't both agree with that, but I think it makes them taste even more rich and more decadent. But, you know, each their own. I don't think they taste all that good straight out of the oven, because you can't really taste the sweetness. So if you try them straight out of the oven, because you won't be able to resist, you might taste them and go, these aren't very good. They're not very sweet. Let them cool to at least room temperature. Stick a couple of them in the refrigerator or the freezer to cool them quicker, and you'll be able to taste that good chocolatey brownie taste. You can also leave the chocolate chips out if you want, to make it even lower low carb. That is where a big chunk of the carbs come from. I did figure the macros in MyFitnessPal, and it doesn't count the ethanol, because when you're figuring net carbs, you don't want to count sugar alcohols. If you want to count it, you're more than welcome to. So 6 cookies are 8 net carbs and about 380 calories. So they make a really good cereal replacement in the morning, because it's sweet. I'll admit it, I'm the first person to admit I like Danish for breakfast. I think that was just my generation grew up that way, with cereals and Danish and Pop-Tarts. Do we want to compare these to a Pop-Tart? I haven't got a Pop-Tart box in the house to compare them to, but I'm sure if anybody wants to look it up, they could see. But definitely much better for you than Pop-Tarts or cereal. And they also have 12 grams of protein. I mean, come on. Alright, so there we go. They're not perfectly uniform, but there's the first pan. We're going to stick these in the oven for about 12 and a half minutes. Your time may vary in your oven. So I'm going to put this old loud buzzer so we're not likely to forget it. And I'm going to grab a drink of tea and another pan and fill up the other pan. Okay, here we are. So while those are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and fill up this pan. I know, kind of boring, but I can't just leave them out on the counter, and I don't have any made. And I want you to see them fresh out of the oven. Well, I do have some made, I take that back. I don't have any coming out of the oven. So we will just have to wait a few minutes. Go grab a Coke, tea, coffee, water. If you don't want to watch. If anybody has any questions, feel free to text, put them in chat, and I will answer them. Oh, this is such an evilly good smell. One of the things you guys will get to see is my Snickerdoodles. Still working on perfecting that recipe though. It tastes good. I haven't yet really given much thought to exactly which will be next week. I don't know if I want to do Snickerdoodles or pumpkin cookies. It's getting close to Thanksgiving, and of course it's Halloween. Everybody wants a pumpkin. I am still trying to master the art of pumpkin cookies. Low-carb pumpkin cookies. I guess I should be more specific. If anybody has a request of any kind of low-carb cookie you might like to see me come up with, let me know. I'll see what I can come up with. This is a pretty good base recipe for other stuff. The experiments, I'm not sure if my family likes the experiments or dreads them. I guess it depends on whether it's a good one or not. I would love to figure out a way, and I'm going to figure out a way to incorporate cherry into this, because I miss chocolate-covered cherries. There's so much sugar in them, though. Orange is another flavor that goes wonderfully with chocolate. Oh, and thumbprint cookies. Wait for those. I make some yummy thumbprint cookies. Need a good sugar-free cranberry. That one's one I have not found. If anyone knows of any good sugar-free cranberries, let me know. Because I miss my cranberries. I sneak them in every now and then, but oh my goodness. You've looked at the amount of carbs in a serving of cran raisins. It's painful. Let me tell you. It's like 33. It's carbs, not calories. I may have said calories the first time. But I'm getting down to the wire here. I'm going to set this down so I can bring all my chocolate back together. Ah, no. Isn't that what we always want to do when we're making cakes and cookies? Especially plain, regular chocolate chips. Oh my goodness. It looks like there's going to be more than 72 cookies. I will just have to scooch them in here somewhere. Okay, so maybe there'll be 73. Like I said, they do rise, but they don't rise so much that they stick together. They stay in these nice little neat balls. So I might have to amend the recipe to 400 and it was 450, so I might have to amend it to 440 grams. See if I can get this closer to my ideal count. Those might end up smushed together, but that's okay. So tasty. So let's move that out of the way. I move these over here, and we have way more time left than I thought we would. So let's see. Oh, let's see, we have some questions. Can I request pumpkin pie? It's not cookie, but it's pie. Well, I can work on that. Because pumpkin it is a squash and it's not too high carb. And I can work on coming up with a pumpkin. That would mean I have to come up with a low carb pie crust that actually works. And honestly, with my experiences with this dough as rolled cookie dough, I think that's probably a good possibility. I just have to take the time and the experimentation. So that was a request from Miss Crystal there, who was also standing off to the side, making hand motions at me, which is very adorable. So let's see. Sorry for the delay. I thought it would take me longer to scoop those. We have about 4 minutes left. I guess I could do a little dance, a little song. You don't want me to sing, really. My studio crew is making faces at me at this point. I need water. Well, I think you could probably take a moment and get water. Because it's not like you're interrupting. My baking is baking. This is at home. So, I mean, maybe next time you should get water before I start.
Literally got home before you started, like just before you started.
This is my daughter, Michaela, by the way. She is the main reason for this cookie recipe. Because I'm not real fond of just plain eggs. She just about despises them most days. Unless there's toast involved. Anything is good with toast.
Anything's good with parts.
Some of these icons in Twitch chat I can't even begin to understand. Probably help if I had my glasses on. Is that a rabid unicorn? I mean, I don't know. Go take your water. You've got your water. Go. Flee. Flee. Be free. This is not a professional studio. Have we figured that out yet? I think we have. So let's see. How many more minutes do we have? Couple minutes. While we're waiting, I will sneak over here to the refrigerator and grab the bag of the cookies I made earlier this week. They don't last. It's a family of 4 eating breakfast and snacks. They go pretty quickly. This is what they look like after a day or so in the fridge. Still look tasty. If you looked at the picture on the page, you'll see they're very moist. Not wet, but moist. Like I said, I keep them in the refrigerator or the freezer because I think it makes them taste better. Tasty. Excuse me, I talk with my mouth full. Welcome to my kitchen. This is what you get. If you were here, I would sit here and talk to you while we were cooking. I do this often with my best friend. Yes, they do look very tasty. They are very tasty. The whole smell-o-vision. I will set those to the side. Soon. We'll try like Mervin's. Open. Mervin's case. Bake. We're in the home stretch. Last 30 seconds. Gives me time to finish this cookie. Oh, peanut butter. Oh yes. Peanut butter on these is wonderful. Gotta grab them oven mitts. Don't use dish towels because they are not oven mitts. And you won't discover that until you grab a hot pan with a wet dish towel and burn yourself. All right, so look at that. Don't they look scrumptious? So we'll set that over here on the bottom of the cooling rack and let those cool for a few minutes. Stick these others in the oven. No, I won't make you wait for them. But I will get them started. And there you go. That's them. Like I said, they're delicious with peanut butter on them. How my husband prefers them. Ice. That's what I forgot. A spatula. Let them cool for a few minutes. Not too long, but long enough so that they're not super soft. If you've baked cookies before, you'll understand what I mean. Right now, they'll be super soft. And you scoop them and they'll squish and deform. You want to give them a couple minutes to set up. And I need a couple minutes to drink tea. Yes, I drink much tea. Look at those. See, they do double, maybe triple in size. And they're very tasty looking. Little balls. I joked about one of my sets of Snickerdoodles looked like oak balls because they were so perfectly round and had no cracks. That's why they didn't really quite pass muster. Let's go ahead and scoop those up. Put them over here on these lovely cooling racks. Oh, trying to cool cookies back when I was younger, before I had cooling racks, we put them out on paper towels on top of paper bags that we tore down the sides. And that was our cooling racks back when I was a kid. Used those for a lot of years as an adult too. Then I eventually got older and got my own house and discovered wonderful things like cooling racks and seal pads and parchment paper. Parchment paper is another wonderful invention. I guess it's not really a new one, it's an old one coming back in style maybe. When my mom was younger and I was growing up, it was aluminum foil everything. Look at that. Look at those nice, tasty cookies. Like I said, you can eat them straight out of the oven, but they're not going to be as flavorful or as sweet. But you might like them. They may be more than sweet enough to you. They do sweeten up, I think, and develop more flavor as they cool, if you're in a hurry to eat them. Then pop a few of them in the freezer or the refrigerator and let them cool. It doesn't take too long. And then you can dive right in. Next day, they're always so much better. Like I said, so those are my chocolate breakfast cookies. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoy trying them at home. And next week, I will post what's going to be next week's stream. I wasn't really prepared because I can't make up my mind. I want to do a pumpkin cookie, but I'm not sure if I will have mastered the pumpkin cookie by next Thursday. So I will see you next Thursday with my next edition of Tax Treats. And thanks for coming, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.